Hello, my name is Edward Hunter and welcome to Florida for highlights from the Daytona 225, the title decider of the 2022 FSR Stock Car PRO Championship. TX3's Remco Major took pole position from championship leader Jake Dennehan. However, at the start, Dennehan's title rivals Fabian Ballet and Arda Ercan got the drop on him, as did Grand Effect's Zolt Zux. Paul-August Lane found himself being squeezed between Carlos Martin and Alessandro Valente, taking to the runoff. It wasn't long before the first caution period was called as Patrick Hanko found himself being spun by Liam Howard. The Royal Blue driver arrested the slide only to hit the side of Thomas Vash and lose control once more. Ballet and Major pit for in the lead under caution to change strategy, handing first place to Ercan, who would lead Zux away at the restart on lap 5. There was drama as Dennehan tried to go around the outside of the Hungarian, but it immediately went wrong and heavy contact was made as Zux found himself facing backwards in the wall, collecting Vash as he rejoined. Dennehan had taken serious damage and pit under safety car, blowing the title race wide open and putting Ercan in a championship winning position. The Turkish driver led the restart once more from the visceral car of Darius Andre, but Stan Velistra was challenging Mirko Mancini for 6th, with Martin watching closely behind the two as the duo bumped each other repeatedly. The Netrex teammates of Howard and Harry Smith caused the next pile-up, with Henk Jan Seneca also being collected. A separate incident happened immediately behind as Ballet tried to react to the crash in front of him and ended up being hit by his teammate Major behind, creating an even bigger incident and leading to caution number 3. There was now a flurry of activity in the pit lane as everyone outside the top 18 pit for fuel and repairs. Ercan led the restart from Andre and Lalu, but there was trouble for Martin as he tagged Velistra and was then spun sideways by Ryan Elliott as Alessandro Apolloni, Roberto Pignataro and Jan Vosnica were among the innocent victims arriving on the scene. Cue caution number 4 and a huge rush into the pits led by Valente and Jerne Simonchik. The top 3 remained unchanged at the restart. Dennehan had shuffled his way back into the top 10 and tried unsuccessfully to go round the outside of Donat Prodam. Then a heart-in-mouth moment as Zux and Dennehan came together again. Only quick reactions and a pink royal blue of Hanko were enough to save the points leader from disaster. Hanko then found himself under attack from Jean-Michel Garnier and the Netrex of Gianni Lianos as the pair squabbled. In the group just behind, Martin and David Junt were tagged off track. Meanwhile, in the lead group, things were getting hectic and Jurgen van Bergen was tagged around by Kevin Morville, wrestling the race clutch car back under control on the apron. This dropped him back into the second group, which erupted into chaos when Adam Rainey tagged the back of House Sonneveld, causing another multi-car pile-up which Matt Toussaint could do nothing to avoid. A second incident occurred ahead as Zux lost control, collecting Rainey and Hoyer and narrowly missing Dennehan. There was no option but to call out the safety car for a 5th time to clean up the mess. Everyone outside the top 14 pitted, with Mirko Mancini and Rory McDuff getting out first. Ercan led the restart on lap 30 from Andre and August Lane, but now it was time to play the team game as the two visceral eSports cars joined in a row, with Major also coming through to bump draft his teammate. Andre briefly took the lead but couldn't get back to the low line in time, meaning Ercan and Major were able to inch ahead and keep the Turkish drivers' title hopes alive. Andre and August Lane now had to defend from Vasily Ampatsidis and Simonchik. Another driver quietly working himself into title contention was Vosnica, who overtook Valente to run 7th. There was then a frightening moment for the leaders as August Lane tapped Major into his teammate Andre, with the Romanian somehow managing not only to survive a huge tank slapper, but also hold on to 3rd place. Musadis wasn't so fortunate as Apolloni tagged Elliott into him before then collecting the valet car himself. Musadis was eager to get back into the race and then made the disastrous move of reversing onto the racing line. Ercan and Major pit under safety car number 6. Now Vosnica in 7th was in a title winning position as the two visceral teammates led the restart. It didn't take long for another major incident to occur when Martin and Sonneveld made contact and then went bowling, knocking down Henk Jan Seneca and sending Apolloni on a wild and bumpy ride which swept up title contenders Ballet and Dennehan like a hurricane. The 7th caution period was called, with the pair being sent to the back of the pack. The race restarted with Andre and August Lane heading the way, but almost immediately the Competizione cars of Garnier and Morville came together with Musadis, with David Junt's car being made collateral damage. Disaster struck for Netrex as the caution was called, with Lianos tripping over his teammate Vosnica. The top 4 pit, joined by McDuff as Andre relinquished the lead to Moynier's Iris car. The Frenchman led away from Prodan and Hoyer, but his teammate Valente lagged into Apolloni, meaning the number 82 was turned turtle into the number 28. Denahan avoided the carnage to climb onto the back of the top 10 train, putting him back into a title-winning position. Then Prodan, Hoyer, Sonneveld and Zux all split off to the outside line. Only the Visceral driver was able to get down to the inside into the lead, leaving Hoyer and Sonneveld to tangle, gifting 2 more places to Denahan. Mancini was bumped into Ballet and then spun around over 360 degrees by Rainey. It then got much worse for him though, as Hoyer tripped over Lalu and a few meters later another multi-car pilot was triggered, bringing out another safety car. The top 3 of Prodan, Moynier and Savalev all pit, meaning McDuff would lead the restart. Things immediately went wrong for Prodan as Martin and himself tangled and flipped over. Valente tried to avoid his rolling teammate and instead clobbered Prodan, leading to a 9th safety car. Another Iris was in the wars at the restart as Moynier clashed with Zux before coming down into the path of the other ground effect of Tucson, leading to an almighty mess and a 10th and final safety car period. Now the 4 title contenders found themselves bunched together as the 4 TX3 cars went to the outside line to try and bump draft their way past the net Rexes of Denahan and Voznica. However, they had Simonchik, the 2 Visceral cars, and McDuff to slipstream off of, so they braved it out on the inside. On the next lap, Voznica cut across to block Erchan's path, playing rear gunner to help defend his teammate. There were then 2 big crashes as Garnier and Sonneveld tangled, and Pignataro made contact with Musadis, with Lalu being caught in the middle. TX3 were now a man down, but pressed on regardless, even though Major had lost his rear spoiler earlier in the stint, making turning very tricky. Andre then found himself spun out of 3rd after contact with Simonchik. Erchan was able to leapfrog Voznica in the confusion, but before he could attack Denahan, Voznica dived back up the inside to keep the TX3 at bay. Ballet cut past Erchan going into the final lap as the 2-hour clock ran out. But there was a frantic run to the line as August Lane squeezed Simonchik into the wall right as McDuff was lapping Mancini. Voznica sent Ballet across the grass, but 2nd place meant that Denahan had done enough to become the 2022 FSR Stock Car Pro champion. The Irishman was elated and celebrated his first FSR championship with some traditional Daytona donuts. Let's not forget though the superb drive by overall specialist Rory McDuff to take his and Race Clutch's first victory in FSR ahead of the new champion Denahan. Voznica's heroic defence in the closing stages was enough to secure his 3rd podium in a row ahead of the 3 TX3s of Ballet, Major and Erchan, who put up a superb fight but could not find a way through. Savaliev secured his best finish of the season in 7th as Pignataro bows out of his final race in FSR of a hard-fought 8th. Simonchik limped home from his last corner tangle in 9th, whilst Rainey rounded out the top 10 from a hard-charging Valente. So here's how the championship standings worked out. Jake Denahan takes the Stock Car Pro Championship by 12 points over Fabien Ballet after bookending his season with 2 second places. In an impressive encore, Denahan went on to win the GPVWC Race of Champions just 5 days later. Jan Voznica was tied on points with Arda Erchan but finishes ahead due to his podiums in Gateway and Daytona. After a year marred by injury, it was great to see Carlos Martin return to the winner's circle on his way to 5th, a point ahead of triple champion Yerne Simonchik and Valle's Stavros Musadis. Loic Moynier rounded out a strong year for Iris in 8th, ahead of his teammate Valente. Finally, Rory McDuff's breakthrough victory sees him leap up into the top 10. So with that, the 2022 FSR season is complete, and that means we bid goodbye to outgoing FSR President Cameron Roger, and we say hello to his replacement, Cass Rietveld. We'll be back in 2023, but from Daytona Beach, Florida, and from me, Edward Hunter, it's goodbye, Merry Christmas, and a Happy New Year.